with their legal representation. Thank you.
Okay, John?
Again, I don't know the answer to that question either, but I will say from my experience in private industry, it is always very healthy to have your service providers undergo a review. That way you make sure that you have efficiencies in terms of cost as well as performance. So I do support a review.
Thank you. The next person that has signed in to speak is Virgil Turner.
Thank you, and thanks for stepping up to do this. What should DMEA's role in making sure that Montrose and Delta County have sufficient broadband for their residents and businesses? What should the role of DMEA be in supporting that?
And we will start with Terry.
DMEA is putting broadband or fiber to their substations for their own use. And as far as provide for the community, there has to be another agency that'll come in and purchase the use to supply it to the individuals. Right now, we're the middle mile. We are not a provider of the broadband service to a house. And that's where it's standing right now, and I think that's where it will stand.
Thank you. BJ?
I don't know what the role is of the MEA to provide broadband to the rural areas. I know that it's needed. DMEA's, as stated last week, major mission is to supply electricity to the major areas. But I think when the REA started, they started electricity, they went to telephones, and now we're getting legislation that's going to help us with broadband because they realize the importance of it in getting it to the rural areas. And so anything we could do to support that would be, I think, appreciated and needed. And however, I think we need to remember our major mission is electricity, and if we did anything like that, it would have to be cost effective for our customers. There's always an upfront cost whenever you go into something like that. So yes, we need it. If we can help supply it, it would certainly help the business and other opportunities around here, and we should be forward thinking in our position in that.
Thank you. Jenny?
Well, what DMEA's role hopefully will be is that they will provide a tie-in for ISPs to provide for the community, businesses, and individuals alike. Hopefully that'll keep moving forward.
Sue?
Yeah, I believe that DMEA will complete the middle mile, and I'm all for that. I think it's great. I think it is going to bring a lot of economic development. It'll bring the price of broadband down. It'll be a win-win for everybody, but we must also remember that we are part of the electric company, and we can't make the ratepayers absorb all that cost. We have to make it pay for itself, which I think it will. I really do. So that's.
Thank you. David?
Again, we are looking at an electric company here, and we are not in the business of providing broadband. If someone wants to form a business, DMEA may be able to aid that business by helping out with cheap rentals of the power poles or easements if they can be pushed over to a broadband company. Because we do have a lot of lines out there, and if we could use the same infrastructure to supply that to the counties, that it would be a good idea.
Thank you. John?
I think we all can agree that broadband
Broadband is absolutely essential for economic development, and as a DSED member, I hear this all the time. Businesses won't relocate to Delta County because we have huge problems with affordable high-speed broadband. If you go back in time to 1935 and look at the original rural electric charter, and you white out and you white out electric and replace it with broadband, that document reads as pertinent today as it did 85 years ago. So I think DMEA is in a unique position to change the economics of offering broadband by supplying this affordable middle mile transport. And I'm really hopeful that if we do this, it will have no impact on our ratepayers and members, but it will provide access to last mile providers that can really enhance our economy and solve a problem that no one else, no other service provider is willing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
I know very little about the broadband part of things, so I would have to encourage probably the DMEA to find someone to step up and support the situation where we could get a new provider to Delta. Delta is, I know Grand Junction has broadband and Montrose has broadband, but the Delta area is really lacking, and I think that, you know, if DMEA was encouraged to find someone to help facilitate that, it would be a big plus for our electrical association.
Thank you. The next question I'm going to read, and it does have, it's not real long, but DMEA bylaws have historically prohibited DMEA employees from concurrently occupying a position as director. The current board recently amended the bylaws to restrict employees' eligibility to run for the board until 3 years after their employment has ended. Do you support or oppose this amendment, and why or why not? And we will start with BJ.
I support it.
Why or why not?
I think sometimes when people are employed with an organization and want to run for a board position or something after there's usually an agenda attached with that type of a setting. A lot of times I guess it would be that they want to make the organization better, but there's always suspicions that arise from that type of a setting. So I would support the amendment as it is, or the bylaw as it is written now.
Thank you. Terry?
I support it also. I support it also because that was my situation. I've been off working from the company, and then 3 years later I applied for the board position. And I agree with it for the fact that maybe there is a bone they want to pick with the company, and so they're going to try to get on board and have some influence on the results of changing whatever their problem is.
Okay, thank you. Jenny?
I support it also. I think it's too easy for somebody to have an agenda if they're fresh out of working here. So a 3-year gap kind of gives them a little area to cool off maybe.
Okay, thank you. Sue?
I also support the amendment, and I agree. I think you need to have a few years away from the company to get a fresh look at things.
Okay, John?
I too support it, and I think it's a very healthy thing for there to be a cooling off period. Having, again, seen similar situations in private industry, it's never healthy when someone can just flip a hat and go from being employee to customer or supplier. So I support it.
Stephen?
I would also support this. It takes a cooling off period, and people need to know that they need to step back and take a good look at the situation at the company and make sure it's something that they want to do to be on board.
David?
Boy, it's my big opportunity to be different here, but darn, they all make sense. I'll have to agree with the majority. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any people in the audience that would like to ask a question? If not, I'm going to go to the questions that I have solicited from the community prior to this evening. Okay. Mr. Patterson?
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, yeah, I guess, being on the board, one of our biggest challenges coming up is our wholesale electric provider, Tri-State. And I'd just like to hear from the candidates how they view the interaction with Tri-State and what they feel about local generation of power and how we should accomplish that.
Thank you. And we will start with Terry.